But there's obviously some rotation being picked up by radar, which is why this warning was issued. No new updates, so this warning again continues until 11:45. And if you're just now joining us, we are sorry to interrupt your programming, but we need to warn you of this tornado warning. This is including, let me go ahead and try and pop off radar here in just one second, but this does include the area of Hollywood, Ravenel, Jericho, Adams Run, Wadmalaw Island. It looks like Wadmalaw, you might be on the back end of it now. So Hollywood, Jericho area, let me go ahead and zoom in right here. Capel's Crossroads, that's where we're seeing some very heavy rain. Could be talking about that rotation right in this area. So make sure that you are in a safe spot, the lowest level of your house, away from windows. Just make sure that you are protecting yourself. Do not go outside. I'm begging you. But right now there is that tornado warning until 11:45. And as Chris has mentioned, you know, these are very quick spin ups, might not even touch the ground. And we've seen a handful of these already down in Georgia, and they've only lasted 10, 15 minutes. So that's why this warning is not nearly as long as normal warnings.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, too, at least so far, there's only the one. So that's the good news. Everybody's under a tornado watch, but as far as an active tornado warning, and I will let you know, essentially, Charleston will tell me if all of a sudden it pops off. We'll of course pull out, but you can kind of see it right there. That's where the spin is. In fact, it's kind of centered over essentially Hollywood, just kind of south of Highway 17 and Ravenel. So folks in Hollywood right now, that rotation, that mesocyclone is right on top of you. But to give a couple landmarks again, you got the Food Lion right there. You've got the Ford dealership right there. Those areas are about to see it, or they're seeing that right now as far as likely that rotation. Charleston, maybe go ahead and check correlation coefficient, one of those, see if we're seeing any signs of anything popping up.
Let me see if I can't find that really fast.
See if you can find that while I'm still watching this, but just, you know, try to communicate, see what we can see on radar. Again, if we see something, sometimes it can be even as quick as one scan. We'll briefly catch something popping, and then that's it. But,
yeah, so I've got it popped up, not seeing a whole lot actually.
Okay, well that's a good sign. That's a good sign.
It's a great sign. So, you know, it may mean that it's just staying as a funnel cloud, but there's some rotation, and that's why this was issued.
Yeah. Now, Sam, if you can go ahead and put me on in front of Charleston's, if that's okay, because I want to explain something real quick, what correlation. So correlation coefficient, essentially the radar has two beams. You have a vertical and you have a horizontal, and it sends one vertical and then a horizontal, and together it puts together a 3D image. When they're all unified, that's saying everything is looking the same. If you get a bunch of different signatures returning to the radar of different shapes, you start to see more unique colors of like yellows, oranges, but it's usually clustered in a very solid circular ball. We're not seeing that. So we're not seeing any signs of debris or anything pop up on correlation coefficient, which is a really good thing. That's what we like to see. But one of the tools that's useful, particularly, again, I always go back to Oklahoma and some of the areas where you'd get some of the hill country. It'd be kind of tough to see with any cameras, or unless people were there. We used radar to help pull that up. But if we can switch that back to Max 1 real quick. The radar, it does look like they just trimmed the warning back a little bit. You want to kind of update us on that, Charleston?
So they just updated in the chat that we are in. They actually did continue this tornado warning, but they did trim it back. So this still includes Hollywood, Ravenel, Megat. If you are in these areas, make sure you are taking cover. Looks like they are continuing this until let's see, 11:45. Now the good thing is this is moving very quickly. It's moving northwest at 20 miles an hour. So it's moving quickly, which means if there is a tornado dropping down, it'll pass through very quickly. But make sure that you are taking cover at this moment. Again, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of the building that you're in, away from windows. If you are in a mobile home or a car right now, find a safe shelter.
Yeah, the key thing that you want is a sturdy building. Just where these tend to be usually EF1s or EF0s. It's one of those where if you're out in the elements and there is, tree limbs and stuff flying, obviously that hitting you in the head is not a fun thing. But if you're in a sturdy building that's well constructed, usually they're fine. Yeah, you might have a little piece of stucco or maybe some siding gets dented, but that's a whole lot better than you being dented. So that's what we like to see. Now going ahead and zooming on in, again, it's moving back, so we've trimmed it. So here's just a couple key roads so you kind of know where we're talking about. So here is, this is Highway 162, and then this is 165. So we've got the intersection of Hollywood, Ravenel. Highway 17 is right there. So again, I've been using the Food Lion grocery store and then the Ford dealership as landmarks. They're right there. So if you live near those places, you are still technically under a tornado warning. Now down towards you, we've got Churches Flats Road. That is on the very back end where they just trimmed this back. If you're on Churches Flat Road or you're really close to it, you are probably safe to come out now because it does move. It's moving at about 25 miles an hour. So we're past that point now. Now sliding up a little bit farther, you folks along Old Jacksonville Road, Hyde Park Road, up near Warren's Crossing, and then you see all these little side roads. A lot of folks live out here. Stay in your safe place, at least for now, up until we get towards the Dorchester County line, because there's Delmar Crossing. That's kind of right on the line. And then a couple other roads. You've got Spring Grove Road down here, Greenwood Road. A lot of these not super big. The key one is Highway 165 near the intersection of Hyde Park Road. So those are all the areas, and just kind of a bigger picture for folks maybe just tuning in. This is southern Charleston County right up to Dorchester County. Dorchester County, Colleton County, you are not included. And frankly, most of Charleston County is not included. The metro, not us. This doesn't include us. It's just outside of that. Charleston. So velocity, it looks like it's weakening.
A little bit. I have it pulled up right now. The rotation looks to be right over Hollywood. So again, if you are in this area, make sure that you are in your safe space, but of course keep listening to us for your updates. Let me go ahead and kind of play this out and show you it's still hanging on pretty well. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does go for just a little bit longer. Of course, this goes until 11:45, but we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. So take that wider look out there. Actually, let's go zoom in just a little bit, and let me pause this right here really fast. So you can see where that's at. So Wadmalaw, you're good now. You're cut back from that warning, but Hollywood and again Ravenel, you should be in your safe space as well because that is heading towards you. Maybe you zoom in just a little bit more right there. Go ahead and move that up just a little bit. So yeah, if you are in the Ravenel area, I would definitely be in your safe space as well until this passes. Yeah.
Well, one update. So notice with Charleston, you saw those little dots. That means the rotation, it's broadening out, which actually is a good thing in that, it's still swirly. It's still what would be considered a supercell, but it doesn't have that tightness that you typically kind of need with a tornado warning. So this is, it's still there, but yeah, look at that, Cheris. You want to slide that just a little bit more for me, will you?
Let me just
a little bit up.
Wrong button there.
That's
we go.
There's lots of buttons. But this is a good sign that it's broadening out. So we like to see that. We like to see that a lot. Now, if we can go ahead and pull back Max 1. So this is the lone tornado warning. And the moment it's popped off, we're going to stop talking. I'm thirsty. It'll be really good, okay? But again, what we're seeing is all of this is associated with, of course, Idalia, set to go to 11:45, and you zoom out, and it's just these onshore flow all associated with this storm. And notice it's a pretty large area stretching up from north of Wilmington all the way south of Orlando. So, I mean, you're talking a solid 9-hour drive in tornado watch territory, again, associated with Idalia. We just happen to be kind of in one of those bands right now that is a little bit more significant. So that's where we've got that active tornado warning. And again, it's set to go till 11:45, hoping that they pop it off early, but so far they haven't. And again, just at least the good news again, Charleston, is we saw it getting a little spinny, but it's changing.
Broader, and if you want to switch back to Max 2, I can show you correlation coefficient again, and this is pretty much how we see if there's been any debris or anything like that. And I'm not seeing anything on this over top of it started over Wadmalaw. I'm not seeing anything over there. Hollywood, not seeing anything either. So I think that's really good news. We're going to keep an eye on this, of course, because this can change at an instant. But right now, if I were a betting woman, I'd say that it probably didn't even touch down, but there was that rotation, and it is broadening out right now. So if you are just now joining, I'll go ahead and zoom on in onto some of the roads and some of the areas. So right now it looks like the heaviest rain moving over top of Jericho, Warren Crossroads, Delmar Crossroads. You should also be in your safe space. Hollywood, Ravenel, Jericho, you should be in your safe space, as that's where we are seeing that broad rotation right now. And again, that is moving, I believe it was northwest at around 20 miles an hour. So this will continue to move quickly, but still can't rule out the possibility of a tornado. Certainly some rotation. I'll go ahead and pop up this velocity again so you can see, and this scans every little bit so you can see just how much it has become a little bit broader. And we'll go ahead and zoom on in here.
Yeah, it's become a lot broader.
Yeah, it's definitely looking a lot better. Still rotation, but not quite as cooped up, I guess is the word I'm looking for, maybe.
That works. That works. I'm a big proponent of using the entire English vocabulary. But no, what Charleston was talking about, so watch as it comes past Seabrook, see how it was that really tight and kind of that bright green, and now it's getting bigger. Again, that's when you're starting to feel a little more confident that this isn't going to be as big of an issue. But even then, still, we're kind of watching. So here's just another outlook on where, as far as who's going to see that area of rotation here within the next 20 minutes or so, all the way up to Gettysville here in 20 minutes, 18 minutes Clubhouse Crossroads, 9 minutes Del Mar, and then Warren Crossroads. Again, once you get past Dorchester County, so Gettysville, you guys are not in the warning, but I'd just say probably the best thing is just make sure you stay tuned. If they extend the warning, obviously we're going to stay on, but so far, not looking like it. And hey, a couple of things. So it looks like that rotation is just crossing Highway 17 as we speak, and steadily moving toward the edge of that warning area. They already trimmed back part of it, and it looks like we're already halfway through what's left of the warning area, Charleston.
Yeah,
so kind of hoping that we're almost done.
Hopefully it doesn't cross over into Dorchester County with this warning. Hopefully it becomes a little more broad, and they'll be able to cancel that. But if we want to pop over to, I think we're on next 2 now, aren't we? Yeah. So what we have to look for in situations like this is we really have to pay special attention to, you know what, let me just get up there and show you guys. It's going to be a lot easier to explain. Yeah. So it's a lot easier to explain in front of the camera what we're kind of watching for, right? So you've got all of these showers and some thunderstorms just offshore there, right? This is pretty typical on those outer bands of those tropical systems. They'll push onshore, and they have just enough juice, just enough energy to spark that rotation, push onshore, and that's what's going to cause those tornado warnings. And that's exactly what we saw earlier. As I was watching a couple of them, some of them started becoming a little bit healthier, and that's when we started to see more of those spinning up. And you can see there it is right there. So got a wide area here, but fortunately we are seeing that rotation become a little more broad. Does it look like they trimmed that back maybe a little bit more?
They have not adjusted it yet. Just
smaller.
Looking at,
maybe from further away it looks a lot smaller.
They actually just said they are continuing it. Looks like they're going until the 11:45.
Okay.
And it's not a confirmed, but just radar capable of producing a tornado that's located currently over Ravenel.
So again, yeah, Hollywood, you're now out of this. I think they did trim that back because Hollywood was in that. So Hollywood no longer in that. You are I would say stay in for just a little bit longer looking at velocity. There is still a little bit of broad rotation, but it's definitely Ravenel, Delmar Crossroads, Warren Crossroads. be in that safe space. That 165 corridor there, you can see that's where it's really at. And again, that's moving northwest right around 20 miles an hour. So if you are in these areas, make sure that you are staying in your safe space. Even if there's nothing touching down, you could still maybe get some of that debris. So be in that lower level of your building. Make sure that you are away from windows. Just protect yourself, protect your family, protect your pets. But yeah, so Guatemala, you're good. Hollywood, now out of that. It's just Delmar Crossroads and Warren Crossroads in that area. So I'll go ahead and let Chris back on now.
All righty. Well, switching over to Max 1 if we could. So again, right, as Charleston mentioned, just north of Ravenel. So now, and when you got to factor in, while we get these updates pretty darn quick, there is always between when the radar scans, the computer processes, and we get the data, there is about a minute or so delay as far as where. So a little bit ahead, we are still seeing likely where that rotation is moving up towards Warren's Crossroads area. And a couple of the key roads, again, it's already past Highway 17. We can confidently say that. And then you've got Highway 165, so up along that, and particularly to the, we'll go with kind of the southwest of 165. Not exactly an easy north-south road, but it does the job. So if you're on the southwest side, if you're further north, closer to the metro area, some phones will just alert based on the county. Others are a lot smarter and do it based off actual geolocation. It depends on how you have it set up. But if you are in the county and you got the warning, this is not for you. It's strictly for the southern portion of Charleston County. Now, moving up a little bit farther, again, it does terminate at County Line Road. So Delmar Crossing is right on the edge. And we go up towards, what is that, Loud's Landing. They are also just outside of it. But Charleston, that's really broadened out now. That would be what we call just a proper kind of large-scale mesocyclone. In fact, I'm going to zoom out real quick just so we can get a better idea. Yeah, you can still kind of see the area, but it definitely is not looking like what it is before. And that tornado warning, it's pretty small. Again, I can say this now, if you are south of 17, or let's do even better, if you are coast side of Highway 17 now, you are no longer under that tornado warning, which we have a mere 5 more minutes of.
Yeah, and if I could just add one thing, you know, because we're not out there, we don't know what's happening at the ground. If you live in the Hollywood, Ravenel, Guatemala Island area, the Crossroads, make sure, if you can, when the storm safely passes, let me preface with this, when the storm safely passes, send in your reports if you have any damage. That way we can pass it along to the National Weather Service, and they can put that in their records, and they can go out and survey if needed. So just once the storm safely passes, I cannot emphasize that enough, get out, and if there is any damage, please pass them along. You can send it to our news station's Facebook, social media, tag us, do whatever it takes to get those reports in.
All right, and taking a live look or a wide view here, once again, it is a very small area that we're seeing with that tornado warning. Really just that small area, kind of Ravenel above, landward side of Highway 17, meaning, you know, one side of Highway 17 closer to the coast. If you're on the coast side of it in southern Charleston County, you're fine. You don't need to worry about this anymore. Just the other side all the way up to Dorchester County. And as it goes inland, just the nature of this, notice it's only the coastal counties included under the watch. It is going to lose some of its spin and broaden out as we've seen on velocity. So it's not going to be as much of a thing. So if you are Dorchester County, if you're southern, I'd maybe, you know, at least I wouldn't want to be out in a tropical storm anyway, but just definitely stay inside, at least for now. But that warning again is set to expire here in just a few minutes. My watch, the battery died, otherwise I'd be checking it, but it still looks good. But 11:45 a.m. and again, tornado watches stretching. One update though, notice it doesn't include Jacksonville or even Brunswick, Georgia. Far southern Florida, central south of Orlando does, but you have to get to about central Georgia coastline all the way up and then past Wilmington. We still have those watches. As Idalia, it's weakened. It's now a Category 1 hurricane, and it's steadily moving inland. Really, just kind of keep an eye on it. And like I said, we're on because of that one warning and it's still there. It's still a thing.
I think they're going to wait
it's
until
teeny tiny,
11:45.
and I'm hoping that it's off, because based off as a professional meteorologist, most of the signs are pointing to that if there was something, it has mostly dissipated. We're also close enough to the radar that we can be a little more confident on the ground. If you're further away, you kind of have to play it a little safer, but still, that is good news. But even then, just for those little folks right there, which, Charleston, if you want to zoom in once again kind of on that area where we're seeing it, just so folks that are like, okay, am I on, or do I need to get out?
Yeah, I've got it pulled up on velocity. Yep, you can see it. So it's very broad now. It's not cooped up. Again, I guess we're going to use that term. I can't think of the word right now. But yeah, so it's definitely more broad. Let me go ahead and take that off really fast here. And we'll go ahead and do a couple.
Well, to our chagrin,
they actually just issued the tornado warning for Dorchester County, so it has been extended. We are so we are still in Max 2. So they have extended that tornado warning to Dorchester County. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the areas: Gettysville, Clubhouse Crossroads, Coachman's Corners, Slansville. You are all in this tornado warning, and that will go until. Oh, hold on. 12:15.
12:15. All righty. So we're going to be on here. A little bit of a party this morning, shall we? Well, going ahead and so looking at that, so Charleston, you want to zoom out? We'll keep it on Max 2, Sam, if you could, but zoom out, kind of show us the basics of where that warning includes. If you want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so as Chris mentioned, coast side of 17, you're good now. So this will be more on the west side of 17. So along 165, not I-65, 165. So we'll go through a couple of areas. So we've still got Delmar Crossroads in this, Warren Crossroads, that's in Charleston County. We move up the road just a little bit, Clubhouse Crossroads, this includes Clubhouse Road, Summers Drive, Boyle Way. Let's see, we've got Barfield Drive, Coachman's Corners, Hill Branch, I believe that was. Hill Branch Road. So these are just a couple of the areas. Cook Crossroads, you might be in this. That's kind of on the border there. Slansville. So you are all in this. Oh, and it looks like they actually just trimmed back a little bit more on that Charleston County one.
Well, that's good news.
That's great news. So let me pull up velocity and we can see, because clearly there's still some rotation. It's becoming more broad, but it's still there, and it's just enough to keep this warning going. So let's see, we're over top of it right now. Maybe. Right in between, just moving on into Delmar Crossroads. That's where we're starting to see it move into.
Okay. Well, good. Well, hey, if we can go ahead and pull up Max 1, because I was just taking a look at this as Charleston was giving you kind of coordinates. So it broadened out, but as is the chance, sometimes they can cycle through. So they'll get big, and then maybe a portion of it will lift away, but then another part will spin up again. And that's what we're seeing. I think I was getting optimistic, but alas. So
sometimes we can only hope.
You live on hope. So that's the area that we're watching right there. So it's just moving up 165. It's a lovely highway, very fun to drive. It's pretty, but just approaching Delmar Crossroads is where we're seeing it, and then moving up towards Clubhouse Crossroads in Dorchester County. And you see for Delmar, you've got about 7 minutes. Get to the center of your house, again, preferably a room with no windows. If you are in a manufactured home, they provide great places to live. However, they don't tend to do as well in storms. If you're in the tornado warning in a manufactured home, stay there for the moment. This isn't a big storm, but once this passes, I'd recommend for the day getting to either a family member or a friend's house who has, it's a stick-built, wood, brick, cement foundation-based type of home. Those tend to do a little bit better, and they just tend to survive those winds a little bit better. And it looks like they've trimmed back the old warning entirely. We now just have that one new warning, and that is almost out of Charleston County. It includes most of Dorchester, or not most of, but it does go into Dorchester County. And it looks like Charleston, not quite to Somerville.
Not quite.
But a little bit close. You want to kind of zoom in to kind of see what that's looking like? Because it looks like it's right along 17 alternate is kind of included, which that would include parts of Somerville. And this warning is set to go until 12:15 p.m. and it does include Charleston and Dorchester counties. It does not include, the watch includes Colleton and Berkeley counties, but those are not included. This is exclusively a little portion of Charleston and then moving into Dorchester County. I will say this does not include even parts of West Ashley. It's a little bit further inland from that. But Charleston, you got more on kind of exactly how far inland that goes.
Yeah, I'd say it's not it's close to Somerville. It's not, Somerville is not included. I'd say if you were in Knightsville or Gibbons, I'd keep a very close eye on the progression of this storm because again, it is moving. I believe now it's moving a little north at 20 miles an hour. So still quickly moving through, but it's kind of changed just a little bit. Gibbons, Knightsville, keep a very close eye on this, but this does not include Somerville. And I don't even think it includes all of Cook Crossroads, but I could be wrong. Dorchester Estates, you're also right on the cusp. So regardless, you should just be inside and in a safe space just to be on the safe side. The weather can change very quickly, as we've seen. But yeah, so if you are in the Clubhouse Crossroads, Coachman's Corners, Delmar Crossroads still, make sure that you are staying in your safe space until this storm passes. I'll go ahead and pull up velocity once again just to see how this has progressed. Let me go ahead and move this over. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple areas of some broad rotation actually.
Yeah, getting a few of these cells getting charged up. And the Weather Service did talk about that as far as this storm kind of moved closer to our direction, that we would see it gain kind of just the energy and the potential to develop more of those quick spin up tornadoes.
Yeah.
And it looks like that's kind of what we're seeing right now. Yeah. So, in fact, let me go ahead and pull up. We're going to do just kind of a quick look at Idalia in general. And it has officially moved into Georgia. They have trimmed back those tornado warnings or in watches pretty quickly. In fact, already central Georgian coastline right on the very edge. But there is Idalia right now, the center of it, bringing the heaviest rain to south central Georgia. Now, of course, we've got that tornado warning that does include portions of Dorchester County. But Idalia, we're going to continue to see that tornado threat at least for a little bit longer. Now, once the storm passes by, and when I mean that, I mean the center, the eye of the storm, our tornado threat is going to drop to zero. We're going to be done with this. So it is kind of a midday afternoon thing, but it's not going to last all day. And then, of course, it goes further out. But let's look at future casts. So we still see that onshore flow. We still get those heavy downpours, and that does continue through this afternoon with that tornado threat. I will say you get too close to the center and it becomes almost too intense for a tornado. So even as the center gets closer, our threat is going to drop this. It's going to shift more up towards Wilmington by this evening. So for us, it is kind of an afternoon, midday afternoon type of thing. And then again, once that slides by, the back end, well, we don't have that threat anymore. But here are a look at some of the key things from Idalia. Again, we'll start with number 2 because we're dealing with that right now. We got that tornado risk within those rain bands. We've got the heavy rain, 3 to 7 inches, that flooding concern. Wind gusts, just general wind gusts outside of a microburst system, 30, 50 miles an hour. Yes, sir.
If I can't provide some more info, so one of our producers who is actually producing our noon cut-in, which is now kind of being postponed.
We're interrupting that.
We're cutting into the cut-in. We are hearing that the tornado supposedly is moving up Highway 165 towards Gibbons, and that's per emergency crews. So if you are in this area, please make sure that you are in a safe space. When this passes, make sure that you provide any damage reports that you can, pictures if possible. We like to have this for the National Weather Service. We can pass this along. That way, if this is confirmed, they can go out and do that survey and confirm what it is. So again, that is what we're hearing from emergency crews. I'm going to go ahead and put that in chat here in just 1 second and see if they've heard anything. But again, that's along 165.
Okay, so with that being said, I just got from our assistant news director was saying we've heard scanner traffic of unofficial confirmations that emergency officials have seen signs of at least a funnel, not necessarily a tornado. Tornadoes have to be confirmed. They have to go do damage reports, and you can get some that look very ominous and they ultimately don't do anything. That does happen quite often, in fact, but still, so where we're seeing some officials saying, yes, it's looking like it, you do want to take this seriously. So again, this tornado warning essentially right up 165. There's Highway 61, kind of right where it intersects. So you drive Highway 61 and then you get to the intersection where you can kind of turn right to then eventually make your way to like Dorchester Road into Somerville. That's kind of right about the cusp of that tornado warning, and then it goes west, meets up with Highway 17, which doesn't quite get to Cottageville. Cottageville, you folks are not included in this. You're probably watching it because maybe it's a little too close for comfort, but you are not included in this. Now, looking further to the south, again, we've talked about Warren's Crossing, Delmar Crossing. Warren's Crossing, it likely has passed you. Stay in your safe place, though, until they officially trim this warning back. They'll do it kind of in usually every 5 to 10 minutes. They'll reevaluate and kind of cut back on it, but still Delmar Crossing, and then continuing up 165 and then eventually up Clubhouse Road until you get to an area called Clubhouse Crossroads, and that's where you get Summers Drive, and then finally again you've got some of these major thoroughfares including 17 alternate, 61, as well as my old road that I drive all the time, Dorchester Road. The very upper edge of Dorchester Road is included in this warning. And so far, Charleston, once again, that is the lone warning that we have. But we are watching for other places that could possibly spin up.
Exactly, yeah, because I mean that's pretty typical with these tropical systems. Is you'll see these outer bands just kind of have enough energy with these cells over the ocean, and they'll provide a quick little spin up, move on land, provide a quick little spin up, and it'll just hold that. So let's go ahead and go through a couple of these larger neighborhoods possibly. Let me go ahead and stop that for 1 second. So again,
and
actually,
did they just pop it off?
Yeah. I was wondering why it looked a little different. So that's some great news. It's obviously not enough rotation for them to keep this warning going, but still want to stay indoors until this storm passes.
All right, we can go ahead and pull up one. So again, breaking news, again, they don't want to keep these on longer than they have. They went ahead and allowed that tornado warning to expire. So everybody that was taking shelter, you can now, I wouldn't recommend going outside. It's a tropical system, but you don't have to necessarily be in that interior room like we've talked about. So again, now we are going to be doing kind of some news updates more here in just a second. I actually had co-anchor Alyssa Holmes. She was looking to see if we had power outages, but we are going to get ready to do some news updates here very shortly. But we're going to go back out to regular programming, even if it's just for a few minutes, and then tune back in. Not only will we have weather updates, but we're going to have some more news updates on what's happening out there. Stay with us here on ABC News 4.
This has been a News 4 Storm Tracker Tracking Idalia update, sponsored by 5 Stars Roofing.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4.
This is a News 4 Storm Tracker Tracking Idalia update, sponsored by 5 Stars Roofing.
Well, good afternoon. We are cutting into regularly scheduled programming as we continue to track Idalia as it moves closer to the low country. We will get you back to your regular programming soon, but first we have live team coverage tracking the latest path of the storm. Now let's start with our storm tracker meteorologist Charleston Clark with the latest right now. So Charleston, what's new?
Yeah, you guys really just could not get rid of us. We were just on a minute ago for a tornado warning, and that is still scrolling on the top of your screen, I believe. That we don't have any tornado warnings in effect right now, so it's down now apparently. So no tornado warnings, but we are still looking at that tornado watch in effect for the entire low country until 10 o'clock this evening. We've got some moderate downpours now moving on through the low country. Some lighter showers just a little bit further down to our South Beaufort. It looks like we're getting a little bit of a break. Moncks Corner still hanging on some light showers, but these are continuing to move north-northwest, and we'll continue to see this heavy rain throughout the rest of your day. You can see Idalia made landfall earlier this morning around 7:45, continues to push through Georgia this afternoon, and it will move through our area as we head into later on tonight. So let's go ahead and talk about Category 1 now, Idalia. 85-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Notice that pressure has gone up, fortunately, 975 millibars. So Category 1, and it is forecast to weaken into a tropical storm as it passes over top of us. So let's track this out, right? So it'll continue to move on through. Still could be looking at the potential for maybe some hurricane conditions further down to our south, closer to Savannah and south. But for us here in Charleston, looking to be tropical storm conditions, the heavy rain, the gusty winds. Of course, as we were just on for that tornado threat. So that will continue as we go through the rest of your day. And then that storm will continue to pull away from our area as we head into your Thursday. And it will be one for the fish, and it will not pose any threat to us afterwards. Otherwise, let's go ahead and play things out through the rest of our day. Again, throughout the day, we're going to hang on to pockets of heavy downpours. Could lead to some flash flooding. We will be talking about some coastal flooding. That's more in the impacts, and we'll get to that here in just 1 second. So throughout the rest of your afternoon, those conditions will continue to deteriorate. So make sure that you just may not want to be out on the roads. It's going to be messy out there, but if you absolutely do have to be out on those roads, make sure that you are using caution. Never drive through a flooded roadway. And you know those barriers, those barricades that they put out if a road is closed? Don't go around that either. We'll hang on to those showers as we head into tonight as well, but then you'll notice that the storm starts to pull away. We're hanging on to just a couple of leftover showers as we head into your Thursday morning, and then check this out. By tomorrow afternoon, we're looking a lot drier, and high pressure will start to build on into the area as we head towards your Friday and through the weekend. So some of those impacts that we are talking about, that heavy rain, could be talking about rainfall amounts anywhere between 3 to 7 inches, but we could be talking about some locally higher amounts, and that could lead to some flash flooding. Otherwise, that tornado risk, it's a little bit lower, but it's not at zero as we just saw for the last half hour or so. And it's going to be with those outer bands coming off of the ocean and pushing more onshore. That's pretty typical with these systems. Otherwise, we've got those gusty winds ranging from 30 to 50 miles an hour, but we could see gusts just a little bit higher than that. And of course, talking about that coastal flooding, high tide right around 8:24 p.m. That's when we're expecting the worst impact. So we do have a storm surge warning in effect for our coastal communities, and it's not your typical storm surge because we don't have this storm coming off of the ocean, right? Not like Ian last year. We have this one coming from land over top of us, right? So this is going to be more of that wind-blown storm surge, right? And that's really going to happen right around high tide, 8:24 again this evening. We do have a hurricane watch in effect for Berkeley and Charleston County. As hurricane warning, though, for coastal Colleton and Beaufort down towards Jasper. Otherwise, we are all expecting at least tropical storm conditions, which is why that tropical storm warning is in effect through tomorrow morning. And this comes to no surprise, a flood watch in effect. Wouldn't be surprised if by later on this evening we start to see some of those flood advisories start to be put out. So again, we look at those rainfall amounts and looking at 3 to 7 inches again, but we could be talking about some locally higher rainfall amounts. Areas to be concerned with, those low-lying poor drainage areas, especially in and around downtown, where we know it's always going to flood even on a lighter rain day, right? So just use caution if you absolutely do have to be out on the roads. But as Mayor Tecklenburg has said for the last 2 days, as we've been stressing, just don't be out on the roads. Stay inside. Game night, movie night, I don't know, hang out inside, all right? Otherwise, those conditions will start to improve as we head into your Thursday. We're going to hang on to a couple leftover showers as we head into your Thursday morning, but looking a little bit drier by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine to take us through your Labor Day weekend. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. So stay inside today. Get outside this weekend. It's going to be beautiful, and we're going to keep that sunshine around as we head into next week as well. Temperatures a little bit cooler, a little more refreshing, thanks to the storm in the middle to upper 80s.
All right, thanks, Charleston. Well, normally it doesn't take much for a rain to bring the peninsula to a standstill, but leaders are hoping that this time it's different. Now, this is new video of the pumps over the battery of the wall right now of Murray Boulevard. There are several set up throughout downtown, and city leaders will monitor the flooding and turn on the pumps when they see fit. We have crews all across the low country monitoring conditions, including the beaches. Floriana Boardman is live out on Edisto. Floriana, I see the winds are picking up out there. How are you and what are you seeing?
Hey, Alyssa, that is for sure. We've been here for about maybe 10 minutes or so, but not many people are out and about. It's actually, the beach is empty right now, but you can see that those waves are very strong. The wind, very heavy gusts. You can see how it's just impacting how big those waves are. Definitely some conditions where you don't necessarily want to be outside. We are here in a covered area, so that makes it a little bit nicer for us. The tide isn't too high as of yet, but I could see some of it. It looked like it was starting to come in. Those waves definitely look like it might be a change in tide soon, but for sure right now, that main concern is that wind. The rain is not terrible. It's definitely coming down, but it is not that strong. It's just those winds that are just smacking you right in the face. So I'm going to toss it back to you in the studio, Alyssa.
All right, thanks, Floriana. Stay safe out there. But now we have an update regarding airlines. Officials have been notified that the air traffic control tower will close at 6 p.m. today. The tower will reopen at 8 a.m. on Thursday. Any arriving or departing flights will take off before the tower closes today. Travelers should contact their airline for any questions regarding delays, cancellations, and rebookings. Well, if you are still in need of sandbags, several locations will be open today. Be sure to look for that information scrolling across the bottom of your screen, and an update on Low Country schools for the next few days. CCSD and BCSD will have half a day today and e-learning day tomorrow. DD2, DD4, Colleton, and Beaufort counties will have e-learning days both days. Williamsburg County will have a half a day today, an inclement weather day tomorrow, and a 2-hour delay on Friday. From schools to buses and business closures, everything in between, we will have everything that you need to know about the storm on our News 4 app.
This has been a News 4 Storm Tracker Tracking Idalia update, sponsored by 5 Stars Roofing.